that can help inform us how to make sure that we're doing this better and as balanced as possible. But I have friends who are moving into a one room for $1,200 to $1,500 for a room. That's crazy.
That's normal.
That's crazy. That shouldn't be. I mean, how is it the norm? Like, people can't even afford to pay that.
That's the problem.
I know.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
You know what I mean?
No,
so
you
it's like, if
that.
I have a young man who's like $1,500, he's barely making enough money to do that. But he wants to stay in Oakland.
Did
So
you
how
want
do
to
we
add
do
something
that different?
before we talk to Matt? Sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to add, I forgot to add that in Chinatown we have a lot of SROs. We have families living in SROs. And we recently had a situation that we've discussed on 8th Street where people wanted to evict monolingual elderly Chinese as well as families so they could rent it out to tech and student workers. So we are in Chinatown as well as other places, East Lake, we are in a crisis situation where people are now putting families of 4, 5, 6 people into one room simply because they can't afford to find housing. They don't, the jobs that are available to them as immigrant families are mostly restaurants or seamstresses working in garment factories, and they have no place to go. And so we are currently under fire. That's why I'm supporting JJ vigorously. But Peggy raises an interesting point, because what may be unknown to you is that the only way that communities of color could gain wealth, they would pool all their money and they would buy a duplex for their retirement, because they didn't have retirement, because they worked in restaurants, they worked in garment factories, and nobody gave them a pension. And so they rely on these units that they have to support them in their retirement. And they have a great relationship with their tenants because they don't want to rock the boat. They're not raising the rent, but yet they're suffering. Mostly, I come under fire from actually some of my relatives who are saying, why are you supporting JJ? That's very un-Chinese of you. I've talked to African-American women in West Oakland, and they're saying, why are you doing this, Bruce? Why are you supporting JJ? I said, I'm also supporting code enforcement and eviction, and the city should be using that as a way to separate out the people who are greedy and who are taking advantage of tenants, and the people who, for them, it's their livelihood, because as I said before, you know, we didn't have benefits. In fact, my father, when he retired as a union, you know, they gave him $100. That was his retirement. So he didn't have a pension from the union. So we had to figure out another way to struggle. And so you've got communities of color, which the only way they can build wealth is to try to pull their money together and buy a little piece of property when they could. So it's a real conflicting situation for those of us on this side of the table. Mm-hmm. And Peggy accurately describes what's going on.
Thanks for sharing that. Matt, I want to give you a chance to talk about, if elected, specific solutions.
Yeah, first I want to quickly show you something on my website here. This is like the main, one of the last images you'll see on the site, and it's me painted a mural on Telegraph Avenue, and the line says, you know, if we can't all stay, what's the point? And that's the whole thing. What have we been building this town for? It needs to be for the people that are here. The wealth extraction that comes out of all of the renters putting twice as much of what they should be into these rents. It should be 30%. If any budgeter would say, find a house, your rent should be no more than 30%. People are around 60, 70, 80% of their income is going to rent, and then leaving the city of Oakland. So, like when we talk about rent caps and things like that, they're not enough. The rent is too expensive as it stands across the board. You can't have a healthy economy or society while extracting that much wealth. I think a big thing that we could do is create a municipal bank, which could help with the financing of all refinancing people's loans, and also financing people's businesses, and also loans for new construction as well as new ownership. When I got really involved locally when Jerry Brown ran for mayor, and he had his whole 10K plan. The secret is there was no 10K plan. He just said it right after he got elected. And I do actually have a plan. I want a 10K plan though, but of truly affordable housing. We need to be treating this situation no different than the fire that we're having the anniversary of right now. The number of homes that people lost during that fire is there's an equivalent to the number of people who lost their homes from in 08 and since then in this town. And there needs to be a recognition, and it needs to be treated like the levees broke, or the earthquake, the fire, because that's what's going on right now. Now, we have in any emergency you have long-term things, and you also have the triage of what's going on. We have our fellow citizens are stuck living in tents right now, and we need to come to where they are. There's little things. They need things like toiletries, socks, things like that, just to get through the day, right? We need to be bringing porta potties and occasional shower facilities around these places, just so we know where they are, just to give for humanity's sake. Now, I've seen where they've torn out campgrounds. One egregious example was in Berkeley, where the guy got out of his tent and grabbed the tent, threw it in the trash compactor, and killed his pet cat while he was in there while it happened. And all his possessions and his best friend dead. And it's because we're dehumanizing people. Now, I've built co-housing for years. I've been in the art community. One of the things that I dropped out of school when I moved to Oakland from Stockton, went to Holy Names College. I dropped out because I found the Vulcan Foundry in East Oakland, and the whole idea of like live, work, creating your own world, building things for living. If you share, you can live inexpensively. You can create community. So I've been building housing for people over the years, and I explored things like land trusts. I have concerns about land trusts because the whole idea is we ultimately want to have people need to have a retirement out of a trust. I don't know if you guys understand trusts. You lock a property, the land down for 100 years, so that you can't sell it for more than, so you can lock things down for low income. But if that low income community, that's their only retirement, is we're locking them into no retirement fund, that's a problem. So there's all these different things that happen. I want to mention code enforcement and around like the permits and the duplexes and things like that. There's a concern because I've worked in construction. I've been doing all the trades for decades now. We have a situation. We have mother-in-law units, and we also have the duplexes. And if we increase the code enforcement, there's a concern that what it will do is actually turn these units over, because if people can't, I've seen so many people have like their little garage they converted, but it's next to a fence instead of a foot away from the fence, so that it's going to be no good, and they have to do all these things. People are going to not be able to afford their mortgages if we do too much enforcement, and then what will happen is the house will be flipped, and which will be a benefit for the city of Oakland, because the city can get more taxes on every time there's a flip, every time there's a sale, the city makes more money. So there's some built-in incentives against the people of Oakland, built into the budget of Oakland, in the sense of like flipping a house helps Oakland, but not the people. Let's see here. I want to say also about inclusionary housing. We need to make sure that we don't have poor doors in these buildings, and then because the point of you need mixed income neighborhoods. You need people knowing each other in different classes. You need people, children interacting with each other. There's no reason when I open a door, go down a hallway, I need to know whether one unit is a studio apartment, one unit is a 3-bedroom. And they don't need to be in different units, with different door access points and things like that. And I find it really troubling when they do those things. Let's see here.
Can we get your final thoughts?
Yeah. final thoughts is we got to have that noticeable bank. We're leaving millions of dollars on the table on the regular, and I'm glad I got endorsed by the Green Party as well, and I wanted to mention that. And that the banking thing was a big part of that. And also my concerns around the housing, and that we can't. I want to mention also that the developers are taking buildings and they're converting co-housing into what do they call them? Dormitories for tech things. So like my friend's warehouse on 1919 Market that was owned by Protopappas, and they were red tagged. Their building was red tagged, and the city said you need to move out so we can fix it up. And then they, instead of fixing it up, they tore it down, and this is happening over and over again. And so we got to be very careful about, like I said, the enforcement, and I think it's a tool for developers often more than anything. That's
Thank you, man. Thank you. I think we've kept you for a while. I mean, you're all tremendous candidates, passionate, the kind of candidates that would make us want to add 4 council seats.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and I wanted to add a clarification on that last issue.
On housing?
Yeah.
Well, let's hold off.
Okay.
There's plenty to say about it.
Okay.
Here's a question that's just burning for all of us, though. You all, the 3 of you, sound a lot like Rebecca Kaplan. You're all like progressive. You want to fight for economic justice. You want to reform criminal justice system. You want to reform policing. How are you different? How are the 3 of you different?
Correct. Yeah.
This is.
We can only endorse one of you.
Yeah. It'd be nice to be able to endorse all of you. It'd be cool, but we can't. So how are you different from this person right here who has been on the council? Was there ever a key vote, some decision that Rebecca Kaplan made that you wouldn't have made, that you would have done differently? Is there something you think Rebecca Kaplan is going to do this next term that you would do differently?
I'll start first. You can't endorse 3 of us because we do have ranked choice, and I would love it if your paper did do that, because the people of Oakland deserve that opportunity to actually have a ranking.
Well, we can only put one of you at number 1.
That's right.
Yes,
Yes, that's right. And I will say that Rebecca and I have worked together for a long time, for over a decade. And I'm running. First of all, I was campaigning for Bernie Sanders, and the whole push after the primary here to we need to have local people run for offices and things like that. That inspired me. Then I heard rumors going on that Rebecca had locked down all the union endorsements, and no one's going to run against her. And it just kind of ticked me off that we had a progressive city with only one person, with an incumbent not being run against, having at least a challenge, because you don't move things forward without challengers. And since after I jumped in, we had a few more people jumped in as well, and I wanted to say there's a big difference. I'm working with a group called Uprise Campaigns, and it's a new strategy of how to win campaigns without taking the money, the equation out, because we all know that even the appearance of quid pro quo is enough to is taking people that are justice-minded, heart-minded people and making them cynical and not engaging. So I want to give the city people of Oakland a chance to vote for somebody that's not it's running a campaign that's not built on the $100,000. I will tell you this: that the day after I called Rebecca to let her know that I was running before I jumped in, her campaign manager, someone I used to work for, called me and told me that I was a fool to run, because if I didn't make 220, even if I was to get 20 grand in, that wouldn't be enough to make a difference. I needed at least 100, and that just bummed me out, honestly, that he would even make that call. And I know Rebecca did.
And you know
Rebecca did not
when
make that
I
call.
found out he made that call, I
You
told
were
him that
pissed
that
as
was
well.
not in any way authorized.
Right,
by me.
and I run a record clip. But the thing is, that's the mind state. And I'll tell you, other organizations, you get endorsements are about who is most likely to have the money to win. I'll tell you, I'm going to have thousands of posters. I'm going to have this stuff out there. Just wait and see. But I'll tell you this: it's important, I think, especially for a progressive paper, to at least give people an option in that ranking So they can, if they think, okay, we have the two people that are most likely when they have the $100,000 and the backing of all of the establishment and the machine. Well, which one should we choose? So that's
we know what you're saying, but so it's important people have that option.
Yeah.
But then
Okay, I'll get you. Yeah.
then
Okay, I'll get you
what
what happened.
would you do differently than Rebecca Kaplan?
Well, I'll tell you this. Like when we showed up on the public safety, and with this whole issue around the equity situation, sadly Rebecca knew that Desmond Brooks was going to add all these things, but didn't reach out to the community. I had no idea. We showed up.
Excuse me, I had nothing to do with the wedding.
Wait, well, you can totally respond.
Yeah, we talked after the fact, and she said, Rebecca told me that we were concerned about limits with McElhaney, well, all these things. We could have showed up at that meeting with the actual people, but we were left flat-footed. And I think that although Rebecca is right on the issues, I don't think she comes through consistently when it comes down to the nitty-gritty details. And I wanted to, and I knew if it was happening to me, I knew it was happening elsewhere, and that kind of triggered the thought process. And then the Bernie thoughts, and I just kind of put it out there. It's a lot of I make a living doing construction, and I spent like $1,000 on this campaign. I'm down to nothing, because I'm not working on plumbing or whatever right now, because it's important to get people have that choice. Yeah.
Great. Peggy, how are you different than Rebecca Kaplan? What are some key issues, key things she's done, or you think she'll do? How would you do it differently?
For me, I think it's a style, really. I think there might be a lot of issues that we actually will be very similar on. But I just been, probably, working on the Obama's campaign from 2008 all the way to 2013. And as an organizer prior to that, what I have learned is a kind of an engagement style that empowers people to be involved in what's going on in their community. I believe that I have relationships that are not only local, but statewide and national. I'm in a conversation around my brother's keeper and the issues that are real that are impacting our community. I engage with OUSD and parents and teachers and kids and what's going on in their lives. I have an ability to connect with people walking right into the room. And I might want to run from it, but it's what I do. It's who I am. I've been successful in being able to bring ordinary people, working with ordinary people to do extraordinary things. I love Oakland. And what I kept seeing at the council, the council was doing what it was doing, but there was still so much pain going on. There was still so much frustration. There was still our communities fighting for the same things that they have been fighting for quite some time. And often what I hear from them is, we didn't know, nobody invited us to the table because the city itself does not communicate well to the city at all. And I felt like the at-large seat could be the seat that kind of holds a kind of a bigger vision of a conversation for us. It can be the seat that engages across the city and connects us together in all of our life interests. It can be the seat when we talk about developments and stuff that's how we can be better partners with our council members in those districts. Say, do you know this is coming into your area? Have you heard? What are your thoughts about that? And not bringing the community to the conversation after you've already decided what you want to do, which happens all the time. I believe in restorative justice. I know at the core of this city needs a healing. And just talking at our community doesn't work anymore. The issues here are real and we have got to solve them. So it's not even personal about Rebecca, it is just about offering the city a different style of how we engage. You're not the mayor, you're not the council member, so you really have a great opportunity to really do some good stuff in this city. So I just have the relationships, I have the skill set, I have the engagement ability, I understand data, that doesn't really happen here. We're not even, why am I doing this? What's my reason here? How am I most efficient with that? I also believe that Oakland has some great stuff going on. This is a great innovative city. We got great thinkers, we got different industries that are blossoming here and this option, but we don't see it. We don't talk about it, we don't celebrate it, we don't lift it up, and collectively, if we do that, we can do so much more. So I just believe I'm the type of person who can lift up the spirit in a way just by being connected with people and walking into the room. I can see young people, I can see, and it's just natural for me. And it's not about Rebecca for me. And number one, it's a democracy. And there's an election that happens every 4 years. And if you feel like you have a story to tell and what you want to do and get involved with your community, you have the right to run. And so that is why I decided I wanted to run. I've been in this community for a very long time. I believe, actually, that I have a great balance of understanding from the whole community, from the hills to the flatlands, because I've been fully intentionally engaged. And so I think I want to bring a different style. I want to elevate the conversation. And I'm fair, I'm firm, I play hard. I'm not going to tell you what you think you want to hear. I'm going to be real with you. And I'm still going to keep loving on you. We might disagree, but I'll be like, okay, I'm going to be whole, and you're going to be able to trust me in what I am doing and how I show up. And I'm a leader. And I think that needs to be offered on this council. So it's not even about the issues. It's really about a vibration that I feel that I can offer that would be good for this city across.
People have asked me why I'm running against Rebecca. And I tell people I'm not running against Rebecca, I'm running for a seat, right? And I think Rebecca knows that. I got my start in 1964 at Berkeley with the free speech movement. And my father said it was downhill from there. I got involved in activism. I came out of Oakland when it was segregated. I went to a segregated junior high school and a segregated high school. And I vowed that I would try to make a change. I'm sitting between two very strong LGBT candidates. I wanted to let you know that my civil rights did not just stop with communities of color. If you're familiar with San Francisco, I was in a law partnership with a woman named Leslie Katz, as well as a gentleman named Jeffrey Coors. It's called Katz, Quan, and Coors. We had joined together after I left my position as National General Counsel for the Organization of Chinese Americans, because both of our communities were suffering from hate crimes. We vowed we would work together to try to make a society a better place for both of our communities. So I have experience in other communities as well as communities of color. As I mentioned before, I worked with the Black community, with Mayor Tom Bradley. I worked in the Asian community. I was part of the Asian Pacific Caucus in 1984 when the Democratic National Committee said they wanted to have a big tent and include all of the various communities. So along with Norman Netta, we founded the Asian Pacific Caucus. I've been an activist, a community organizer in both the San Francisco and the Oakland Chinatowns. And so I've walked the talk. I've been very progressive all my life, and as you know, at this particular point in my life, after I retired, I came back to Oakland and found that it needed change. It was exactly the same as I left it a few years back when I went to China to help them develop the rule of law system to try to protect the rights of migrant workers as well as common citizens. Coming back in 2013, I felt there were problems here that hadn't been solved. My community was basically trashed. Chinatown is on its last legs. East Lake has got tremendous problems. And East Oakland is really worse than I'd ever imagined. And so I thought that by running for office, I might be able to make a positive change in Oakland, the city that nurtured me and which has had 4 generations of my family. That's where I am.
Thank you. So at all three, you said you're not running against Rebecca Kaplan, so I thought Rebecca Kaplan. But in a way, you got to convince voters to put you at number 1 on the ballot over Rebecca Kaplan. Rebecca, why are you? Why do you deserve another term? Really quickly, just a minute or two, if you could.
Absolutely. I have demonstrated both the ability to accomplish tangible goals, whether it's something like the free Broadway shuttle, the bus passes for our low-income youth, the writing and passing of Measure JJ to protect tenants, as well as the courage to stand up and fight even when powerful interests are pushing against it, like my fight for fully independent police review. I believe the people of Oakland need someone who both has the ability to bring results and the courage to fight to defend the community, whether it's from coal dust or police misconduct or any of the issues where there can be powerful interests on the other side who don't want you to speak up. But I have shown a track record of doing so. I would add that, you know, there have been some claims made that I didn't meet with or hear from the small landlords. Not only did I meet with them, I did hear from them, and Measure JJ in fact does exempt the owner-occupied duplexes and triplexes that were mentioned. The last thing I think is incredibly important about my ability to fight for Oakland right now is that Oakland has historically gotten the short end of the stick on all the big, powerful regional decisions, right? Whether it was the freeways that wiped out our communities, or the big regional transportation funding decisions that kept funding suburban sprawl and not funding urban reinvestment in communities like Oakland. And I have this year gotten appointed to major leadership roles in two of the most powerful of these agencies that Oakland has not historically held. The Alameda County Transportation Commission, which controls the $8 billion Measure BB fund. By being chair of that agency, I've been able to bring us free bus passes for our school kids and programs to clean up the truck congestion in West Oakland, as well as money for more generic things like potholes and things like that. And just recently, the Alameda County Conference of Mayors appointed me to represent all the cities of Alameda County on the Bay Area Air Quality Management District Board, or BACMD. Oakland has not had a seat on BACMD in 25 years, until I went out and convinced the mayors to give it to me, when usually they give it to one of themselves. That's part of why they moved to the regional headquarters to San Francisco, because there was nobody there from Oakland in the decision making, and that's part of why they haven't traditionally respected our community. In my first couple months there, I've gotten us more money for the Broadway shuttle, more money for electric car charging stations, for the truck cleanup at the port, and a change in policy to start launching pollution caps, because the air district used to only talk about average pollution, and then fence-line communities like those in Richmond and other areas living next to refineries, we get horrible, horrible pollution, and nothing would be done about it. And so we've now initiated a process of having not only regional air quality goals, but caps for specific heavy emitters that are hitting hard-hit communities. And so I would have to be reelected to the city council to keep these leadership roles, which is allowing me to bring resources and solutions to Oakland. So I would say both my track record of success on the council, with everything from banning coal to protecting renters, combined with the fact that I would have the continued ability to bring major resources and regional decision making that Oakland wouldn't otherwise have, I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Peggy, you want to add something? I see. That's fine. Are we going to allow it?
I mean, why not?
I don't have a rule.
No, this is not the East Bay Times.
Yeah.
You know, I think one thing I wanted to say is that blight is real in our community, and it's been going on for a long time. And it has not been cleaned up, and hasn't really been any leadership around that. And that's an issue for me. And I think that I would have liked to have seen our current at-large person take a leadership role on that.
Like Ken Houston,
Like
that man.
just like it, right? And really have that passion and really make it a priority. Because that's what the community sees. I mean, I love all of these connections, all these other things. That's important. I'm glad that, you know, Ms. Kaplan has the opportunity to be at all these tables. That is real, that's important. I'm glad that that's happening. But our community is just really trying to get their yards clean. Our community is just trying not to have blight outside. The kids are going to school and then walking across needles and all kind of crazy. So how can that leadership show up on the ground? And that's what I would like to see more in this particular role, like a balance of that.
Can I ask a question about that?
Something I'd like to see on that. Yes, absolutely.
So I'm curious, when you say we haven't shown leadership, right? We passed an illegal dumping crackdown law to make it a greater offense. We passed a budget amendment to add crews to illegal dumping pickups.
Awesome.
We passed a budget amendment to add more trucks, because the trucks were breaking down for the illegal dumping crews. And we passed an action to add hotspot cameras to catch illegal dumpers so you could see the license plate and catch them.
Awesome.
And all four of those things, the administration, the office you're working in, didn't implement. So if this was so important to you, and the council passed it and passed it and passed it, why didn't you demand, why didn't you say, hey look, the council passed money for dumping removal, why hasn't the administration hired the staff that the council voted to add to the budget?
So why are you passing legislation that's not getting affected, number one? Number two, why haven't you gone down to the streets and engaged with the people and have cleanups on your own? That could be one thing. I don't care what you pass. How is it impacting our community? That's all I'm saying. So you can pass it all day long, but if my kids are still walking through blight, it's not being effective. So I'm glad that you're passing. I think that's good. You know, the administration, I don't know why they're not doing that, but obviously you're not doing something either. I think that our kids are suffering, and we need to address that.
Well,
that's
the 70 pounds of dog poop,
Yeah.
that got a lot of media, right?
Yeah.
But are you all okay staying here?
Yeah.
We're keeping you open.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But it's not just the dog poop.
No, I know,
I mean,
but-
it's all over the city.
I know, right?
I gotta mention,
And this could be the role that
I'm just saying,
gritty
so
with
70 pounds of dog food, right?
Yeah.
Let's just use it as an
That's
example,
nasty.
right? So,
That is
so,
outrageous.
yeah, and Ken Houston did a great thing by
Yes.
like blowing it up, making a media spectacle out of it in a way. And so, I mean, why did it take, how many days did it take for Public Works to 5 days to get down there and to clean it up after after multiple phone calls? So what's going on in Public Works? And what is it a resource issue? Obviously, the council's passing efforts to try to clean stuff up. You're saying that the administration can't or isn't carrying it out for whatever reason, but the
No,
public.
Darwin,
I'm sick. Go ahead.
this problem is endemic in all of the, particularly communities of color. We don't get responses. In Chinatown, right after the street fest, we tried to get the thing cleaned up. And it took 3 or 4 days when the rats came out and started chewing on the stuff before we finally got some response. And so you can pass all the policies you want, but if you're not on the ground cleaning it up and getting things done, that's where the rubber meets the road. And that's why some of us are kind of frustrated.
And I think that I agree. It's like pass policy all day long, but how do you get it implemented? Even if you're not the administrator, how do you do a workaround that?
Yeah.
How do you show up to make sure
Peggy,
people see that you're trying to get something done?
Peggy's
We
right.
need that.
I've actually walked with member Gaio and collected a lot of
Oh,
trash.
yeah.
I pulled a truck wheel, like a tire, like an 18-wheeler tire out of a creek in East Oakland. I mean, it's going to take us just being physical and doing these things. I will tell you this, there's different, I work in construction, there are different kinds of situations that are happening here. There are people that are losing their homes, they move out, and they get evicted or whatever, and then the landlord either hires somebody or does it themselves, and they still have a lot of those piles. If you went to looked in the paperwork on the pile, you'll find someone that was evicted,
Yep.
that has no money, that had made the right choice to not spend the money on trash, but on their kids trying to find a new home. That's a heartbreaker right there. You know, the right choice is to not deal with that because they have to like think about food. You know, but and then there's also the people that are doing the construction debris. There's a dual thing going on, and the construction debris is kind of like that's the ongoing dump problem we've had for ages. And then
But the eviction
debris, which
and
is
the people who
yeah.
drive here for profit, people who market themselves as haulers and
Right.
say they're gonna take their stuff to the dump and then dump the stuff in Oakland because they think they can get away with it. And that's part of why we actually need things like hotspot cameras and enforcement of laws, because there is a group of people who are
believe
making
Oakland-
money by
Oakland
dumping
is
here and think they can get away
Oakland
with it.
is the place where you can drop the body. Basically, is how they
Drive
proceed.
down International, okay,
Yeah.
where people are living, you got a living room, but that living room that's down on International's been down there forever, and nobody's done anything about
I
that.
think there's
Right.
a difference between the illegal dumping and the fact that our streets are not clean. I mean, there's a real difference. I mean, go to Chinatown sometime and see how long the garbage has been in those garbage cans, in the city-owned garbage cans on the street corners. And we complain like crazy, and we get no response.
Do you think the reorganization of Public Works under Department of Transportation is that going to make a difference here?
I think you gotta get rid of the public works director. I think you gotta reorganize.
Now,
I think you got, I mean, you know, I took Alameda, I'll say it again, I took Alameda through Proposition 13 in 1978. When I was assistant city attorney, they had to slim down their budget. They had to find where they had to cut and maintain services. And they were able to do that without an industrial base. Oakland hasn't done that. Oakland continues to get more money, yet I read the 2015 budget. The key paragraph in that was that Oakland has increasing revenue, but it's going to run a deficit for the next each of the next 5 years. What's going on? Where's the money going? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you know, you live in the flatlands, I live on East 12th. I come out in the morning with a broom every morning. The next block down, there are mattresses, there are refrigerators. I live on East 12th and 13th and 12th and 11th, you'll just find junk all the time down there. And it's pretty disgusting.
This is tangential, but I mean, just look at the garbage contract. Just like the fact that like we
Don't look at it.
I mean, it's
Actually,
just.
somebody tweeted at me that as a
Don't look at
question
it.
that I didn't
Don't
ask
look
it.
at it.
But I mean, do I think we can go on? I mean, it's just so absurd and embarrassing, and this is kind of the thing that happens. And I can't have that. You know, God, I hope if I was in office, I wouldn't do these things. But you know, just Oakland shoots itself in the foot on a regular basis. Doing it with we did it with the garbage contract. It's doing it with cannabis right now. It seems like it can't get its shit together.
So what it could have, should have said.
Oh, and on a consistently, it's like, oh, there's a new thing going on. How can we bypass us getting the cut of it? That's like kind of like the MO of the city of Oakland, and it's got to change. And
they weren't even collecting taxes off of Airbnb. I had to introduce that resolution at council directing the administration to start collecting taxes on them twice, because the first time it passed, they just ignored it. So we brought it back and voted again and had a whole public hoo-ha, and now they finally started, right? But there's money out there sitting that wasn't being collected, and then the question is, well, where's the resources? I do think it's important, though, for people to know, because they might not, that the city council doesn't have legal authority to hire for vacancies. So on a lot of the different points we talked about, you know, Ms. Moore said, but there's not enough staff working on this, and there's not enough staff working on that. There are unfilled vacancies that are devastating the city. I mean, not only do we not have an IT director, a building director, a planning director, a chief of police, we have vacancies in illegal dumping removal. We have vacancies in the rent arbitration program. And
on the administrator.
And the administrator is the one who has that legal authority. So I would love if y'all want to work with me on pushing the administration harder. That would be awesome. But I wouldn't want people to be confused that that's an authority that the council has direct authority over. There are a ton of unfilled vacancies. And I think, you know, the fact that Sabrina was made to go off and be chief of police rather than be head of the administration and be filling all these vacancies is part of the problem. It's not the only part, but that makes it worse. And I would love if we want to all go talk about all these vacancies getting filled, because that's a big part of why this work's not getting done.
It's not only the vacancies. I think you need to also talk about the city attorney's office. I mean, I don't want to go off talking about stuff that needs to be reformed and changed. I'd say go take a look at the city attorney's office. On the arbitration issues with the police, on the awards that are being given for
Settlements
that are being given. What is that, $72 million?
for police alone.
Yeah.
And then there's public works,
And
which
then
is
there's
up.
public works, and there's all these other things.
So look, for me, it's like, you know, all of this is you know, I think anything, all of us are passionate about Oakland, really want to do the best we can. And you know, I just believe that what I want is not to say that you pass legislation and that's it. And it's up to somebody else to implement it, because you wouldn't have a clear line with the role. I know as a councilman, we can't direct staff, we can't do the hiring, we can't do any of those things. But there are other ways in which our leadership can show up to help have some influence around those things. And I think that's what I feel is more important. I want to get away from saying, I passed this legislation, I did this, I do that, but the administration's not doing anything with that, because that doesn't take care of our people. Our people still do not get what they deserve, even though we've passed it. So how do we go further than that? How do we influence around to be able to get the things that they want, that we need for this city? And I think that's the piece that I think that's very important. Great legislation, it is important, we need it for our city, but it needs to be implemented. So where there's a lack of staffing, how do we get around that and make that happen? Where there's a lack of the administration not hearing you, how do we organize our constituents to be able to say this is an issue and a priority for us? That's really what I think is important. So passing it is one thing, getting it done is a different thing.
I want to quickly mention something that's, I think, concerning to me, and I meant to ask you, like, 2 years from now, are you going to run for mayor again? You know, as far as that's yeah.
Are you coming on?
Are you
No, what I'm asking is, because this is part of, like, the people need to know, it's like, do we have a representative that is here or is looking forward to the next job? And
Is he running for mayor?
Are you running?
for mayor, no, I'm running for at-large. I'm running for at-large and I want to stay, and if I get the job, I want to keep it. And I'm not going to, every 2 years, I'm not going to run for something else.
What's wrong with running for mayor then?
Nothing wrong with running for mayor per se. When there's an election cycle, right? Every 4 years, like either you're doing your job in those 4 years, but if every 2 years there's a campaign, that means there's the fundraising, those overlap. What point of during that time are you not in a campaign mode in those 4 years? 6 months out of it? I mean, this is the kind of thing that is problematic. Not to say that I want politicians and electeds that have ambition and goals in life and progress. So I don't begrudge that, but there is a question because I wasn't sure you wanted the job anymore before, you know, when you ran for mayor a couple times, you know. So that's just kind of. Do you still want the job, or are you in 2 years? Like, if the people of Oakland vote for you, in 2 years from now, are they going to? Do you have the job still or not?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I have been doing the job, and in fact, I don't think you can name anybody on council who has a track record beyond this.
Yeah.
I mean, we banned coal, we protected renters, we landed $8 billion in new funding for local projects. We got a bunch of Oakland projects in that list. I don't think that is a measure of my accomplishment.
Sure.
I do not currently have any plans to run for mayor or for any other particular office, but I'm not going to swear to something. But I also think that if you're looking at the question of like, what are we really doing? You know, I'm not just saying, oh, I vote for things and they don't happen. The Broadway shuttle that I voted to create is actually running up and down the street. The free bus passes I got for the school kids are actually in the school kids' hands. They're actually getting there. The trucks that were backed up through West Oakland, giving the West Oakland kids the worst asthma rate in the nation, now have more hours of the gate open and the road being realigned so the trucks can go in easier without idling in the neighborhood. So that's actually less particulates in the lungs of the children of West Oakland. I only made the point about some of the things I voted for not being implemented by the administration because it seems to me it's kind of funny that my friends will spend 4 years going, why aren't you running the administration? You should be making the administration fill the vacancies. You should be making the administration do the things it's not doing. And guess what? When one of my colleagues tried to make the administration do something they weren't doing, she got prosecuted for it. So, so my friends are a little back and forth with, we wish you were running the administration, but why are you running for the job that would give you the legal authority to do that? But, you know, I have great work to do on this city council, and I have no problem with that as a role. And, you know, and I, of course, already talked about the 2 regional boards as well, which also adds to why to be there. But we're getting really important work done there. A lot of
Is that board just,
results.
is that a city board or is that the board that you, because it's you that is there? I mean, I just curious, I don't know, just curious about that.
Yeah, the Alameda County Transportation Commission is a board made up of the leaders of all the cities in Alameda County, all 5 county supervisors, BART and AC Transit. And so I'm Oakland's rep there, but I was elected chair.
Which is for 1 year?
3 years if I want it.
Okay.
And I want it because this is let's be clear about this agency. This agency controls almost all of the money in our area for transportation projects. Not only the $8 billion in the measure, but controls the federal and state transportation funding is also controlled by ACTC. And being elected chair was something I was elected by the members. So the people who were chosen to be the